Welcome to Her Incredible Mind, where we are highlighting some of the most successful women in science, technology, engineering, and math. These women are inspirational leaders, showing resilience in the face of adversity. By sharing these success stories, we hope to gain insight, inspire, and help guide those who are struggling on their journey within this industry. Hopefully, their stories will inspire you or someone you know to pursue a career in STEAM. Thank you for joining Her Incredible Mind. You are a Senior Director at Everbridge, a great organization, as we talked about. Can you describe your role today?
Sure, Kate, thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and honored to be asked to be here. So at Everbridge, I am responsible for corporate IT, so I'm a technology leader, but also with a little bit of a twist. I run facility operations in the real estate portfolio. And you might ask, technology and facilities, how does that match? But we're two very engaging departments in which we feed into the culture of the organization. When you have bad technology, it kind of makes you feel bad. If you have a bad working environment as an employee, it makes you feel bad. So we bring engagement to the organization through top-notch technology experience and top-notch office experience. And I married the two together.
That's great. I'm a huge culture fan. Just if a company can get an enrolling culture going, there's no stopping them. I don't care what anyone says. It's definitely, for me, the key ingredient in how companies need to work.
Oh, absolutely. It's really what empowers and gives life and energy to an organization, right? A strong culture of that. And, it was that people thought IT, oh, your back office, you don't really participate. And that is so not true. We are partners with the organization, and it is through technology decisions and services that we bring can really empower the organization and move them forward. And the same thing with facilities. Keeping employees happy and productive is wonderful. I remember recently, an attorney of ours was in the office, and she was pulling a very late night. And she came to us and said, because I had everything I needed in the office, from food and drink and services, I was able to get my work done. I didn't have to worry about, oh my God, I have to go get some dinner somewhere, or I was grumpy because I was starving. She said I had everything I need. So that was impactful because she was able to meet a deadline and really get something done. That she had to get done.
That is awesome. People, it's like everyone says, no one ever thanks the electric company for keeping the lights on, right? And I think that in your situation, what's great is that you're creating the foundation of the company, right? You're creating that backbone of culture where people feel supported. And you're right. When people feel supported, they feel, respected, they feel valued. They're going to do their job, and they're going to do a better job than they would have done without those key components in there. So
Absolutely.
Kudos to you and your team. So how did you decide on your role today?
So I have always been a traditional IT infrastructure person, but I've always seen the collaboration that had to go along with facilities. I mean, I remember early days in my career, fighting with facilities over a placement of an IDF closet for a network that was going in, and really having to partner with them. I remember doing, we did countless office builds, and you yourself did a building build, and IT was always the last to be brought to the table for its needs. So when Everbridge approached me with an opportunity of really leading both teams, I jumped at the chance because I saw the value that the two could be, bring synergy to each other. And IT helps facilities by introducing and securing all those Internet of Things that facilities have, the wireless thermostats, the bevy machine that is, put on the network, or the coffee machine that's put on the network. All these things, when you have facilities, doesn't have to approach them alone. they can understand the security aspect of them and why they need, and IT can then design networks and infrastructure that can support these things securely without bringing risk to the organization. And like I said, I see that we're difference makers. These two organizations are difference makers to the company. They're not back, like they matter. When I first got there, the teams were like, we don't matter, Deb. We're just overhead. And I'm like, no, we are not. We are difference makers to this organization. They cannot run without us, and we're going to prove our value.
Yeah, they're definitely drivers, right? I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that back office functions that people think are exactly that, back office functions are not back office functions. They're drivers of the entire organization, their support system, if you will. They are the absolute nucleus of the company when it comes to what needs to be done. I mean, it's very typical of people to not thank, the person because, you're continuing to get your lunch. It's not the same, but it makes a huge difference, not only from culture, but also from just an overall, company caring and feeding of new employees and existing employees. It makes a difference in the roles.
It really does.
So when you think about your role in how you got there, what matters to you most about thinking about new roles? What are the key ingredients in that?
As a woman, we bring a different perspective to the role versus my male counterparts. And I'm not saying that my male counterparts are bad or anything like that, but when I looked at my leaders who are all males, in fact, my team is predominantly 99% male. There's a handful of us. There's 3 out of a team of 46. There are 3 women in the org in my team. And it's not because we haven't tried to find women. It's just, I don't know, there's not a lot in technology. So they were the ones that were like, we don't matter. They were the ones that let's just do our job and didn't try to bring the passion and the compassion that women kind of do, or the look that, we naturally have about us. The caring and making sure that the experience is a good experience all around, understanding the value of that customer service led experience brings to an organization. They were like, playing with my toys, doing the techie thing. Okay. And then being surprised when the outcome of leading with that first, the soft component first, is really powerful.
It is. It takes leadership, right? It takes an extreme amount of leadership. And I think one thing about it is it's a very big opportunity to cultivate young female, talent. I think that when you look at it and they look at it from more of the soft skill standpoint, I see a lot of women, including myself, that really focus on communication, training, change management, all of these really more user facing, if you will, IT initiatives, but every single one of them is, it is an initiative that IT owns, right? So IT owns the initiative, they own, the implementation, but what I think that certain parts of the organization excel at is really driving the adoption, driving the change, and supporting the user base as, at a level that you would want to see. That's what I think ends up being a little bit of a female role in IT, because of that kind of different thinking.
We're naturally prone to partnerships and reaching out across the aisle and establishing relationships with people and trying to listen and understand a little bit more so, because I think that's just part of our DNA of who we are. So I think that's why I think we've been successful in teaching that. And to speak of that, I do have one of my, she came in as a help desk person, and I've been sort of mentoring her to be a leader, and now she's one of my top system administrators. And it's just been telling her to really own who she is. Don't try to be a guy. Don't act like a guy. Use the gifts that you have of your mother, your young mother. Understand the things that you treat your children with, you can treat projects and business aspects with. It's using the same kind of language to explain. Like you would explain something to your child, you explain to your user very similarly. So drawing those analogies has really, really helped. And she's blossomed amazingly.
See, that's what it's all about, right? It's that handout for the hand up, you know what I mean? And that's what you want, is that, we want to make sure that they're continuing to grow. I found some of the best moments that I've had in my career have been managing the interns. I loved the interns, absolutely loved it. And for some reason, in every company that I've been in, they gave me the intern. I always got the intern. And now when I look back on it, first of all, what's very odd is that they were all male. But it's funny when I look back on it, till this day, they are people that stay connected to me. They follow me, on different paths in my career. I've reached out to them when they've had a win or a loss, you know what I mean? And really kind of to keep that role. And I think that's part of the rewarding part of being a leader, right? Because the rest of it just kind of goes by the wayside. You go from one program project to the next. It's the relationships that you build and the leadership that you bring that people remember, and so do you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many of us have taken a path that we didn't think that we would take. Is this what you've always wanted to do? Or just, like many of us women, we tend to, switch lanes or decide on a new career?
So how I got into IT is kind of a funny story. So I came from a military family background. My dad was in the Air Force, 37 years in the Air Force. And in our high school, the military would give you a test. And my test came back, computer science or nuclear submarine. And my father was like, yeah, look in this computer science thing, because this nuclear submarine is not for my daughter. So I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
And I went to school. I went to Suffolk University. It was their first year of having a computer science program. And the very funny thing was, when I went in, it was a lot of programming. And I was like, ew, I don't like this. I like to talk to people. I like to be engaging. I'm not going to sit here and do this. And then I found a course on microcomputers. It was a PC course, right? And I was like, people are going to use this. People are going to need help with this. This is, and so I sort of forged direction. I was on a council at school, and I was able to sort of guide curriculum and told the university that, yeah, this programming thing, but there's also going to be this support infrastructure that's needed to help users. I mean, I volunteered in the computer lab and was helping users. I said, so we should really start thinking about career options in that vein. And that's sort of how I wound up in it. I did a stop in security because throughout my career, I've always loved to test and push boundaries. And see system weaknesses and where, to shore things up. And so I did a stop there. And I think that was valuable because I was able to take technical skills and apply security best practices. And now that enables me to partner with security teams because I understand where they're coming from. And I also understand the technical components from an IT side of things. So it just makes me a better partner.
That's great. I mean, I love that journey. Like, I love that, one of the things that I try to focus on a lot in this whole series really is that it's a journey. It truly is a journey. There's no big destination. There's no, there's a lot of stops along the way. There's a lot of successes along the way, but it is a journey. And that is exactly what you're talking about, is that you started in one area, you thought it was what it was, going to be, then you decided to go in a different direction. And that was okay. That you knew where your strong suit was and you capitalized on that, which is great. That's absolutely awesome. So
yeah, and it's okay to make mistakes too. And I think I've even taken steps back. And that's all right in order to move forward.
I think that's great. I mean, that's great advice, right? Is, it isn't always about the win. Sometimes it's about the reflection, about going back and saying, you know what, that wasn't really the best thing I've ever done. I, need to figure out where I want to be with that. Was that me? Was that the situation? Where am I? And I think that's a huge part of the growth. And like I said, the journey. I think the journey is very, very different for everyone.
Yep, I agree.
So when you think about your career in general, what obstacles do you think that you overcame?
I hate to say this, but that it's so heavily male dominated, and that our perspective is sometimes met with opposition. Mm-hmm. So when you come at a problem at a different angle, a lot of times your male counterparts look at you like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? I remember one time with the first pandemic, being in a meeting, and it was the H1N1, the pig swine virus or whatever it was called. And I said in a meeting, I said, oh, I think that we're being impacted by H1N1. I think, and they were like, I remember the VP sitting across the table and go, what are you talking about? How do you know this? I said, well, you can tell that the population on the floor is a lot lighter than it's ever been. I said, it's just the office is quieter. There's more people, empty desks. And that was an observation. I think women have a tendency to be more observant of their surroundings. And the guys, didn't see that. And it wasn't until he ran a badge report that the evidence showed that, and that he went to HR, and that there was, we had a 75% reduction of staff because people were sick. So I think that was something that our perspective is, it's unconventional at times. And I think it's a superpower that we have. I don't think it's bad. It's our superpower, and that we need to embrace it and not, and I remember feeling small about that and shutting down and becoming quieter because, oh, wow, he called me out, and like, oh no, So that's something that I've learned, and I've learned now to be more of a warrior and forward on my opinions, and not, sometimes you have to explain a little bit more, but I'm not a shrinking violet that's is quiet about my perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a confidence injector, right? That's a period where I think as women, sometimes we have a tendency to do that and immediately think that it's me, I'm wrong, it's me. And I think that instead of that, I think we're really trying to build on the confidence that we have of knowing, even if it is you, it's okay, because it needs to be said, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be, worked through. And even if it turned out differently, you still had the voice to say that, you know what I mean? And that's what's really important, is that you used your voice to say, you know what, I think it could be this. I always joke with some of the team members when I have had issues in IT, that I'm always throwing out some theory about what's wrong with something. It's always wrong, but it is some theory that I'm throwing out there about something, and they laugh, and now it's kind of like a joke. They'll say, hey Kate, what do you think about this and everything? But it actually does spur them to start thinking in other directions. Like they'll start thinking, wow, maybe she might be onto something with that's not right, but it may be this because of that, so sometimes I feel like my input may not be the best, but I hope it helps them with their direction. That's been something that I wanted them to kind of mature on in my organizations.
No, same here. Telling them hey, do you really think it's that? And maybe I could be wrong,
right?
But
right.
It could be.
Right.
But isn't that interesting that we have to couch our opinion with, I could be wrong, but perhaps it's this.
That is very true.
Counterparts don't have to do that.
That is very true. Yes, I wonder. I mean, for us, it's more of a question. For them, for certain other people, it's a statement. And I think that's where I'm trying to get to, is it's a statement. So
Right.
I'm not there yet. So we'll see if I ever get there. I don't
We
know.
will, we will get there. I think that the younger generation of males and females are going to be more open to each other.
Absolutely. And I actually can see that from running these interviews with Her Incredible Mind. We can actually see that it's a different approach, and it's nice to see. It absolutely is, you know. So many of us have had titles, right? And we've had roles in the industries, in different industries, etc. Do you think your role is different in any across any industry? Like in your industry now, do you think your role is different?
So I've been really fortunate and blessed to be able to be in multiple industries. I've been in biopharmaceutical, I've been in finance, I've been in leisure and entertainment with Walt Disney World, I've been in manufacturing at Bose Corporation. So I think that technology is needed in every one of those industries, and there's valuable lessons that can be learned from every industry. So you can take lessons from each industry and sort of apply that. So it's always been a learning opportunity for me. So I've never seen this as a pigeonhole. Like, oh, I'm in technology and I am in technology now for a technology company, and I can't go to another industry. I have to stay in technology. I think that we can spread our wings and learn the lessons that we've learned and the technologies that we've acquired and implemented, and use that across the board. I mean, so I don't know if I really answered your question.
No, that was great. That was a great answer. Honestly, that was very good, Deb. So what would you tell your younger self?
To not be afraid. To not be afraid and not try to be superwoman, where I had 2 kids and I had to juggle being a parent. I had to juggle the guilt that I had with, oh, I can't be there because I'm focused on my career. My children have grown up to be great adults. Mm-hmm. So, and we still have a great relationship. So I'm like, why was I so pained over this? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I have to work. When they actually saw a strong mother. They saw a strong woman that took care of not only herself, but them. So I think I would just tell my younger self to breathe. Okay. It's and find your voice, keep your voice, and don't let people shut you down.
That's great advice, Deb. That was really, really well done. Thank you. So if you had to give advice to yourself as a younger person, what would you say? Would it be very similar to that?
Yes, it would be.
I love the, don't lose your voice, because you absolutely have to keep your voice. And we do doubt ourselves. What's very interesting about our careers, you and I have been in the same company together, we've worked together. And my daughter it's very interesting to see her with me, because sometimes people will come up to me and say, oh, your daughter was telling me that you do this, or your daughter was telling me to do that. I think it's very interesting that they've actually kind of gravitated to that naturally. Like there's no other way that she thinks about me other than, my mom does both. She's my mom and she's working and she's doing this, and not that, being a mom isn't a full-time job, definitely, but I'm just saying that that's something where it's funny that she doesn't see the difference. She just sees it as one, which is neat, kind of neat.
So yeah, that's great. And so many times I know that early on in my career and with my kids, the schools were not supportive of working mothers. And I remember going to open houses and having teachers, well, first off, other parents, other moms looking at me like, oh, she's the career woman. And like it was this dirty thing that I wore. And then the teachers are like, well, a mother's place is in the home. And I was like, well, what? I mean, no.
Right, exactly. I think I'm pretty sure that they didn't need to tell you where you needed to be. I'm pretty confident, especially if your children are now successful and doing well and everything
Right.
else. And all we want is for them to do well. And I think sometimes that people think that they're going to do one or the
That
other.
is-
That's not true. You know, you are going to be able to raise them and also, you know, and also have a career, especially now with COVID. I don't know how anyone can deny it because everyone's doing it. So it's a
Yep.
very different situation. So if you had to sum your LinkedIn profile to 3 words to describe you, what would you pick?
Innovative, passionate, and compassionate.
I love that, Deb. That's awesome. Thank you for being here today. You know, I hope you enjoyed our interview, and
Thank you.
we really appreciate your willingness to tell your story and share your journey. You know, we know that these hopefully will inspire someone to follow your path.
It was
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you so very much.